Hey there guys, and welcome back. We're on the desktop right now because I want to do a quick update on the Stream Deck and then outline, per the title of the stream, the change I'm making for this whole entire pivoting motion here. Draw that out rather than try to explain it in Fusion. So the slides, they actually slide quite well, and they'll slide quite well if I put the top slider part in too. If I put them on the top slider part is what I mean. The biggest problem with these is when I get them both together, when I put both on at the same time, I run into two issues. The first is that it actually ends up being harder. There's not enough space on the inside here for this guy, so it's one of those things I'm gonna have to offset the inside of this. This is actually the second version that I printed because I added some more offset on the inside of the rails here because I could not get enough offset on the actual rails themselves. So unfortunately I'm gonna have to print one more of these guys, it looks like, in order to get enough clearance between this wall and this wall. So that's where the Stream Deck is at, and then otherwise, again, the Stream Deck, the actual finished portion of the Stream Deck won't be done until I finish the secret project that I keep on hinting at, that I keep on alluding to at any rate. And again, as I mentioned yesterday, that will be done sometime Friday or Saturday because, again, I broke my drill bit that I need for it. So we're waiting for new drill bits to arrive so I can actually finish it. As always, look forward to it. Otherwise, like I said, actually that's the other change I was going to make. The other thing that does happen is, because these are independent, it does have a tendency to offset a little bit to can't, and therefore bind up on this guy. So one of those things, we'll fix that just by, well, I think I'm going to fix that by connecting it to it. So I'll just run a strip back here. It's one of those things, this is at the back of the box, right? So I'm never going to see it really. So I don't mind adding an extra strip back here to connect these two rails. Again, I'll have to reprint these two rails, but whatever. These aren't nearly as much plastic as this guy. I'm not going to necessarily complain. So yeah, those are the changes there, and the reminder that we do have that special project coming up on the weekend. Otherwise, I was thinking at work about this whole entire thing, and the idea of it being a book actually got me the idea. Well, actually, I take it back. There's two things that got me the idea. First off, the angles that I'm setting here, whether they're concave or convex angles, or I guess acute or obtuse angles is the better way to say it because we're talking kind of triangles. Rather than having this kind of floating at the moment and then pivoting around here, it occurred to me that we can actually fix this end right here, and instead of having the screw right now, I was talking about putting a screw here in order to lift this end, and then we'd have another screw or some kind of device back here, just an angle here. We actually don't need that, I realized. So my new idea, and again, this is going to be a relatively minor adjustment to our CAD. We actually don't have to change terribly much to achieve this, fortunately. In part because we started so late and we didn't get much done last night, but also because it is in line with what we already have designed. So the idea is, I'll go ahead and fix this end. This is the far left end, okay? Here's my sanding plate. And then this is the pivot that we already have. So we know about these 2 points right here on the sanding plate, right? My idea is to put the screw here, okay? And then this point is the only point that goes up and down. So if we bring this point down below this point right here, that, well, let me just draw the rest of this really quick. So here's the back plate. So let's say this is a neutral position right here, where the back plate is parallel with this. So if we drop this screw down, that obviously creates a acute angle there. It sucks everything in, and then we get an acute angle. If we go up, and then go up, so here's my screw and this goes up, now we have an obtuse angle. And again, these two extreme angles, frankly, I'm probably never going to need, but this is the idea I'm at right now. And technically speaking, this angle right here is not technically correct going down here. Technically speaking, it'd be more like this, but point being, This is what I'm thinking now. We'll see how this turns out. That way I only need 2 screws in the center instead of 4 adjustment points, 2 on each end. And everything is, in theory, I'll have a base plate down here that everything can be transfixed to in order to keep everything relatively stable. So those are the ideas. We'll see how it actually turns out. Over to Fusion. So this is where we left off, and I'm kind of glad that I did not print all this stuff like I was thinking to do today, because we will be adjusting it. Oh, the other thing that I'm going to mention is I left this hanging right here, and I decided that was a bad idea. So I don't necessarily, because most of the sanding is going to happen along this edge, that's where all the pressure is going to be, and I was kind of like, it's not going to flex that much, but one of those things. Probably should not do that. So we will get that adjusted. Whoops. Oh no. There we go. Random hotkeys. Random fat fingers. So. Let's see. Oh, one thing I didn't really mention is, let me hop back over to camera really quick. Obviously, if I have this point fixed and this point is going up and down, this point actually needs to travel in and out. So we're going to have to put this point on rails that slide back and forth. Actually, I take that back. So this point, I take it back. This point and this point will be on rails. This will go up and down. So these will be on the same rails. This will go up and down. That's actually what I was thinking. Yeah. Because I can't actually... My original idea was to have this guy fixed and then just to articulate that guy. But that doesn't really work with this. This screw would have to, like, not bend, but necessarily tilt and move in order to compensate. So, yeah. These guys are going to be on rails. And then as this moves up and down, that will suck these guys in or push them out. Yeah, that was my idea. Okay. Misremembered my idea. Good job. Alright, so this guy is going to be moving up and down, so he can't be attached here, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this right here. I said that, but actually, I take it back. It's the fact that this guy, the ends of it, are going to be moving up and down. The ends of it are being up and down. It's still going to be attached in there, though, because it needs to hold the two together. Let's see. And like I said, I wanted to add more supports here. And what that means... I had an idea for this and I forgot. It's one of those things. When I get my ideas when I'm working, sometimes I get them really quick and then I'm busy and therefore I don't remember them completely, which is a little bit of a problem. I recall thinking that maybe we don't need to move it around is the first idea I had. Maybe we just leave it and I ditch this whole entire idea that this is sliding, which is frankly a bit more reasonable. However, I was thinking there might be a way to get this sliding at least while it's in neutral or acute position. If it's in obtuse position, then if I slide this forward, the other plate would be down this direction, okay? Which means that it would actually be moving the plate over top of the mounting plate for the part. So that wouldn't work. So I knew it wouldn't work that way, which is part of the reason why I was thinking about just getting rid of this whole entire mechanism altogether. And living with the fact that I may have to like bend or cut up the sandpaper, which is not a terrible idea, honestly. Cutting up the sandpaper, we could shorten this up right here. We could shorten this whole entire plate up, save some plastic, and then just cut the sandpaper into smaller strips since we're only going to be rubbing back and forth in one area. That's not a terrible idea. Maybe I do like that idea. Alright, you know what? In that case, maybe I just back up and start deleting stuff. Like, we wouldn't need all this rail stuff in that case. This bottom guy is probably going bye-bye to begin with. Well, that bottom guy is going bye-bye assuming I get rid of the rails, though. It could stay if we're not getting rid of the rails. Yeah, you know what? I was talking about this yesterday. I do recall talking about this, that it was somewhat a bad idea. I mean, I guess I didn't say it totally explicitly, but when I was talking about the angle moving and the sandpaper moving, and therefore us getting away from the work, the sandpaper getting away from the work, this also has the potential to do the same thing, you know, with it sliding back and forth. If it's not well locked into position, it has the same potential to get away from the work and cause problems. So it may just be a bad idea to have it sliding to begin with. One of those things, can't necessarily be married to every single last idea you have. Sometimes you gotta give up on some of them because they're just plain going to cause too many problems. So I think this is one of those cases where I'm going to go ahead and give up on that idea. So in that case, I need to find where I actually make the bed. Alright, it's there, so this should be... okay. The width is fine, so it's just the extrusion that is the only thing I want to change then in that case. And let's just call it 2 inches for now. That should be minus 2 inches. There we go. And I'm thinking just deleting everything after this just to get past this, just get it where we... oh my goodness. Today I am activating the Windows bar way too much. Taskbar. Alright, so all this is going to delete as well, because we no longer have this system in place. Furthermore, the positioning of this, this can still go center to that, that's fine. The positioning though is probably going to be... I'm trying to decide whether it should be parallel with the edge or not, whether or not it should be lower than the edge. I think being parallel with the top edge is fine. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So we delete this right here, and then we collinear this, and that should be fine. The other way obviously to do this, and you know what, I will do it because that does seem a bit silly to me to have that line in there if we're overlapping the edge, is obviously to center that one up. Alright, so that's where we're at. We do need to back that up though, so offset this because we need some space for the hinge. Offset. Again, yesterday I was talking 6mm wall thickness. I'm trying to think if it's really super necessary. Let us see. How much force is really going on this hinge? It really shouldn't be going on the hinge all that much, honestly. So let's go 3. And then plus 1mm just for extra padding. Nah, I don't need the extra padding. That's silly. We're going to... are we going to connect straight to... so the problem with connecting straight to the rod is that, yeah, you know what? We probably shouldn't be connected straight to the rod. So let me do this. Come back here, and instead of having this collinear, and I also have to get rid of this. We're going to do this centered on that guy. So we have 4mm here. So the 3mm, if I go down to 3mm, what do you call it? Hinges. That will still be below the top edge here by 1mm. So that's how we're going to run this. And then I'll go ahead and toss those in. We're going to change this to paper plate instead. And then hop in here and toss the hinges on. And we can do it from center like we did yesterday. One of those things. whatever you want to do in terms of connection points, or projections is actually what I meant to say. And we extruded this 3 millimeters, but if we're at an angle, obviously, that changes the math a little bit. We honestly maybe should just get rid of that at this point. Yeah, we maybe should just get rid of that at this point. So I'm going to project this though while we're here. And then we'll come back and connect to it after we change this. 0. Okay. And then I want to connect to the plate. And fusion with its silly lines. There's that. Maybe not this corner then. In that case, try to find the right quinkadink. There we go. Maybe we go perpendicular. Yeah, perpendicular is fine. All right. That, and that. I probably don't need this. I mean, I definitely don't need that corner right there that I just clicked, but I want to do it anyway. So distance is going to be, I mean, we'll make them a little fat. We'll make them 5 millimeters. 6 millimeters. And then obviously, just like last night, we want to offset this from center. Let's say 10. I can't remember what I did last night. I think I did an inch last night. It's one of those things, we don't have anything in the way now, so it doesn't necessarily matter. Join. And then create mirror. Do 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 do. Okie dokies. All right, and now we are going to need to attach this to a rail. I'm thinking about putting the drive mechanism in first. So let me sketch this out in Fusion really quick. So let's say the acutest angle that I want to get is actually let us do this, that through there, and then do that. And we're going to toss another line in here and make this equal to that. There we go. That's how I'll do my equal lines. And actually, you know what? I don't necessarily like that, do I? It's one of those things. Equal lines, equal angles is always a little bit difficult, just because you got to do the math. So this would be a 20-degree angle, right? One on each side. The question is, does that fit with my 4mm wall? So let's see what a 4mm wall looks like. Whoops, Control Z. Ah, derp. Try to get this in line. There we go. 4mm. And I guess that'd be something like that-ish. Yeah, it should be clearance. So if we go down to 5mm, do we then hit the wall? So if this is... I guess this should be perpendicular. I'm guessing. Boo, 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 boo. Perpendicular. That to that. Yeah, it's still not hitting even at 5mm. So the question is, and the reason I brought this up is... one of these things, this distance right here is what we're interested in. How far down does this need to be in order to accommodate this? Trying to think, because obviously this can keep on going down in theory. It's just getting shorter. There we go. That's what I was trying to do. Huh. Oh, okay, that's what I'm missing. I'm trying to figure out what I'm missing here, and I'm not including the hinge. I need to be tangent to the hinge. Derp, 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 derp. Because the hinge has to fit inside of this 5-degree angle, in theory. So, we're going to make this tangent to that. There we go, and that is my depth that I need to achieve that, which is about 3 inches. So this would have to be on a 3-inch stand to get there. And if I adjust this out to, that's a 10-degree angle. So if we go to 20-degree angle as our minimum, we drop all the way down to about 2 inches. I guess 80 is, no, 80 should be about 3. It's a little over 3, but it's about 3. Yeah, and we're a little under 2 here. Okay. Let's see. Fact of the matter is that we can probably flip. Well, not necessarily. It's not necessarily the case. So 3 inches. Let me think about this. 3 inches isn't terribly high. Okay, I accept. I accept the terms. And do I want to keep this sketch as my reference? Is a good question. Oh, actually, I should have left. Okay, actually, because I'm on the top edge with this hinge, this 5 degrees is not actually what it looks like. We're not actually 5 degrees here. What circle would I need in order to get an actual 5 degrees? Because if you could imagine this rotating up, actually, you don't need to imagine. Let me. Can I do objects in this one? No? Okay. I'll come out then. Let's grab, yeah, bodies is fine. Bodies, rotate. My axis is the center of the circle. And you can see how that crosses over the center line. Right about there. And that is clearly not, what you call it? So, what that means is that we either change the, now we should just change where this is connected. It's one of those things, I didn't really want the hinge to get in the way. So let's see, other possible solutions to fix this is... Cancel. Let's see. What if I do this just to see how it looks? That's still more or less connected correct. Yeah, I guess it connected correct. So if I rotate this here, right, it doesn't really change much now. Doesn't change enough, if anything. So we do have to drop it down. Let's see. And that would be the other sketch. That sketch. And let's try this guy again. I wanted it above the, like I said, I wanted it above the hinge, but it's one of these things where we're gonna have a problem. Yeah, I mean, I don't even get much out of it going down that much. I get maybe another 5 degrees. Difficult. Alright, so the reason why these angles would matter, these very highly acute angles would matter, is if I'm trying to sand a really awkward part. That's the only reason. If I'm doing, like, again, the initial, like, the thing that said, okay, you know what, I actually do want one of these things, was because I wanted to put a miter edge on the difficult substance. Again, just being vague because I want to, you know, one of these things. This is one of my special projects, so just being vague because. Point being is that if I wanted an angle that acute, I could always flip it over and using obtuse angle from the opposite direction. The biggest problem is that if the tool plate looks exactly like this, then the workpiece is not going to be able to get over this hump. So the tool plate actually needs to be above the hump on this side, which means that it's going to run into the same problem as this guy right here. That is the problem at the moment. Also, we probably are going to need to build it out. Well, we'll see what happens. Poo. Alright, let's start building the, what you call it, and come back to this later. Trying to decide whether I want to leave this here or change it. I guess I'll leave this as is for right now. Come back here. Yeah, I guess I just delete these guys for right now because they're not really doing anything. Finish. That's fine. And I'll delete. We don't need to delete that guy just yet. Okay. New component. Work holder. At this point, I think I might design it from the side. I know I designed the other one from the front because I was adding the extra features. Fact of the matter is that we don't have the extra features anymore. These are just going to be plates, and then we're going to add the features on later to connect it to the lower part. So just as easy to do this from the bottom. 4 millimeters. Project out that guy. Okie dokies. Look please. Thank y'all. And again, this guy is going to have to be above in order to see over. Actually, and that's not even the correct above. I need to get the hinge in here first. In order to see over this hinge, actually, I can project the other one. I can just project the other one. That works. Not that one, evidently. Turn that on, please. This sketch. Not that sketch, this sketch. Turn the body off really quick. Grab that. Turn the body back on, and then turn everything off. There we go. Yeah, so you are actually tangent to that. And then back to, because this is above the center line, I'm going to need some connection points. There we go. Tangent. And this is right angle. Or at least that's what I want it to be at any rate. So we will go ahead and extrude this out now. one of those things. Okay, we do need to put sliders on the top. That was the entire point. So let us. Sliders will be from this side, so we can actually draw those in right now. That makes sense. So we will draw the sliders in, and we're going to design them just like we designed the other ones. This width right here I actually didn't define yet. So let's do 100. I think that's a good idea. We will, again, design these exactly as we did before. Parallel. Grab the center lines. Oh, did I end up with 2 lines again? Fusion's so silly. So these are 8 millimeters, as we previously discussed. And now I gotta find the one that is not constrained because it is too close. There we go. 3 equals there, equals there, and then attachments. Fusion again with its silly lines. Oh man, Fusion, you're really gonna do this to me all day, put in the double lines? Tangent, and actually, yeah, tangent, more tangent. Cool. And then we just need to decide on spacing, and we'll just do 50. Sounds good to me. And now we do our extrusion. And we are on the origin, right? Looks like we are. So, let's see. So how much, let's see. If my base plate is, I think we did 5.5 inches. If it's 5.5 inches, then to get all the way from one side to another, we need to have a swing that is at least 5.5 inches on each side in order to completely clear the sandpaper. Right? It doesn't necessarily, we don't necessarily need to clear the sandpaper. That's not actually a requirement. Okay. Since that's not actually a requirement, let's just do... Huh. So the problem is that I do need some swing, right? And the plate that is going to be on top of this guy is going to need to be mounted inward some in order to have any swing at all. All right, let's start at 8 inches right now, and we'll see where we end up. I might change this in the future. So this is going to be symmetric, 8 inches. And new component it should be, because this is the base plate. Or hinge plate, I guess. And then we'll hop in here and fill in the rest of the details. This guy. Offset. Whoops, offset. 3 inches. 6 millimeters. Maybe 2.5 inches. That was 2.5 millimeters. Alright, and create mirror. Actually, we don't have to create mirror yet because I still want to get these other guys in first. And again, these are the rails for it to slide on. I guess I should give myself a little bit of breathing room, though. So, yeah, we can still extrude it right now. I'll go back and fix the sketch afterwards. That, and -3. And join. Alright, so let's fix the sketch really quick. So, we give ourselves a little bit of breathing room. Doesn't have to be much. 1 millimeter should be plenty. Just don't want it sliding across the ground is all. And, well, I'll mirror first and then I'll throw the rods in. Features, yeah, features, cool. These two across the center line. We'll see what adjust does. Adjust may not work on these guys. It did not work on those guys. So optimize has been broken. Appears to still be broken. So identical. Okie dokies. And the question is 3 millimeters good enough? It probably isn't because we're going to be leaning on this in theory. Well, maybe not leaning on it, but we probably should beef these up a little bit. Alright, yeah. And now I'm going to create a new component here. Symmetric. Or maybe two-sided. Yeah, two-sided, just so I can use the two objects. Distance, two objects. There. And these are a new component, which is rails. Alright. There is where we're at. And I guess I will go ahead and yeah, I guess I'll continue on this. I was thinking about skipping back over to the screw section. Yeah, I probably actually should get that finalized really quick, just in case I run into another problem. So this, I guess, goes in bottom hinge, which should just be hinge at this point because we are only going to have one. So let's get this sketched up. Here is this. And this is going to go on the ends, both ends. Turn some bodies off. Let's see. So I'm going to have, again, I was talking about either an M5 or an M8 lead screw. So here's the thing, right? I mentioned we'd save like $5 or something like that going from M8 to M5. And $5 isn't nothing. The only thing I'm thinking is that I can't remember the last time I used an M5, whereas an M8 is pretty standard. M8 threaded rod. So, lead screw, whatever you want to call it. T8 actually, because it's a lead through screw, it's a T instead of an M. Yeah, I guess we'll call it an M8. That's fine. All our other stuff is 8 millimeters. So we will accept the larger screw. Again, being able to repurpose it is useful. And my estimate in theory here is 3 inches from the bottom. Ideally, again, we may not actually be able to fit that. Like, it may not be able to actually close is my biggest issue. But we will burn that bridge when we get there. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that is going to fail horrifically here. It might. Actually, not even might. It will. Our hinge going all the way through the center does not work. does it? Does it work? Huh. I thought it was going to work, and then I thought it wasn't going to work. But... nah, it works. No, okay, that's why it doesn't work. Because of our rails. Because these things have to be on rails. So unless I don't run the rail all the way through, which is viable. So if I stop the rail, so these two guys again, in order to make up the angle, they're going to have to come in / go out. So this is the furthest out they're going to be, because past the midpoint here, past this midpoint, whether they're going down or going up, they come closer together. So this is the furthest part they need to be. So it's one of these things where they're only going to come... huh. Alright, the rails are going to have to actually be on the edges, isn't it? Yeah, the rails are going to have to be on the edges. In which case, I'll just stick to a single rail then. Instead of breaking up in two, because the single rail will just go outside of this screw. Huh. Further question is, do I just go down to one screw? One lead screw? No, I can't go down to one lead screw. Because I can't have it dead center, because we're trying to sand in the center. Makes sense. Okay, makes sense. The lead screw, however, may collide with the workpiece, which is a little bit of a problem. As will the rails, which is also a problem. Huh. Alright, we have two options here. We can abandon this idea again and move on to a more straightforward situation, which is instead of using these fancy rails and screw in order to fine adjust everything, just set this angle here manually, prop it up, bolt it into place using a, something on the backside of this guy, keep this guy flat, and then go from there. That would solve all our problems. I wouldn't have to buy a lead screw. It's not as fancy. That's a con. But it's a heck of a lot simpler. Alright, I am really tempted not to declare defeat right now. I'm against my better judgment. Against my better judgment, I'm feeling like going for it. This is going to be awkward. Yeah, my what's mostly weighing on my mind right now is just that it seems so boring to go back to the single hinge on the backhand side. So having this plate fix on the left hand side and then adding the hinge on the backhand side, that just seems so freaking boring, and I was looking to make something interesting. So guess what? I do believe that interesting trumps practicality here. Huh. Wow, this is really frustrating. I really want to do something interesting here, but it is just so insanely simple to build the frame and then just go, right? Like, I don't even need to necessarily print anything in theory here, like just print one plate. If I'm going to do a fixed plate bottom here, I just print the one plate, maybe throw it on a piece of extrusion, print the second plate, and then attach the rails. You know, again, could be on a frame of extrusion. I'd probably just print one plate, put it on an extrusion frame with the rails running between the extrusion, and then be done instantly. Just instantly done. Alright. Alright, we're going to do two versions. And I think the compromise I'm going to make, because this one is completely overblown, completely overblown right here. In that case, I think what I'm going to do is make this, I don't want to say it because it's ridiculous, it's even more ridiculous, but I'm thinking because this one's already over-engineered, I actually make this one motorized. As ridiculous as that sounds. I don't know. We'll come back to it. I'm going to go ahead, save this where we're at right now. I'm going to sketch up the 2020 version, 2020 extrusion version, and get this one built for right now, just because expediency is more important than, is kind of important. It's kind of important to do expediency at the moment. So here's our plate here. Rail here. Rails there. Frame will be here. Let's see. Frame here. Our positioning mechanism can be part of the frame. We can have this here and then do the kickstand on each of the 2020s and then T-nut that kickstand in place for whatever angle we want. I think that's... Let's see. Well, it would be fixed at the backhand side probably. It would be fixed at the backhand side here. And then this kickstand front part would be the part that... No, we need the same length the whole way, don't we? Let's see. If this is like this... Oh, no. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine, because as this goes up and down, this moves to compensate, to keep length. I think that works. And we'll, again, burn that bridge when we get there. We can always actually go on the outside too. No, if we go on the outside, then we run into the problem that I was avoiding with doing it this way to begin with, which is running into... Actually, it wouldn't necessarily, because the rails I'm thinking about putting on the inside, so unless I put the rails on the outside, yeah, alright. I guess that's a thing. I guess. We'll have to 3D print a part for the extrusion hinge to hinge on. Otherwise, do we got everything? I think we got everything. Okay. So, this, well, we're in miscellaneous right now, so let me grab my 2020s, XT60s. There we go. Insert. Oh, I don't have this saved yet. Sanding JV2. Insert. Huh. Fusion, what are you doing to me? Where's my insert option? Huh. Fusion got rid of my insert option. That is fascinating. I'm even inside the same project, which is crazy because they were complaining about, doing stuff outside of the project. I do not like this change. I do not like this change at all. There are definitely times when I want to insert this and not derive it, which is literally any time I use this extrusion, because this extrusion never changes and therefore I never need to derive it. Deriving it actually makes things more difficult. Sanding jig. Huh, that really frustrates me. Okay. Okay. New component. Sanding plate. Create boundary fill. That guy. That guy. Okay. Actually, you know what? I should probably do the plate first. I take it back. I won't take it back, but I'll take it back. So, we were saying this was like 5 inches, 5.5. Yeah, we don't need to have a hinge anymore in the center. We can actually connect this to the other guy. Let's see. How are we connecting this? Do they share? They might share. They might share. All right. I think they can share, actually. I take it back. So, well, I don't have to take anything back just yet. What I do have to do is come in here. We'll boundary fill, well, back up a half second. Create boundary fill, that. Do I want it to be new component? I guess I do. That. Yeah, okay, that's why yeah, components. I knew something wasn't quite right. I knew I was... Actually, let's align that first. Turn this guy off. Modify align. Get this center onto the origin. Yeah. And per usual. Alright, there we go. We got it this time. Nice. Ookie dookies. Now, this is the front right here, and I want this sideways, yes. Components, please. Thank y'all. Around that origin. 90. Okay. And then capture position. Extrude. Object there. And I guess I call this... let's call it 6 inches just to be safe. Symmetric overall. Join. Okay. Alright. Middle frame. Control Z. Fusion. You do all these other changes like not letting me right click insert. Alright, I have video, right? I have an archive to show that that was not there just a second ago. Oh, that is... I am unhappy about this situation. I am unhappy. Alright, back to this. Let's grab this, and what I want... Let's see. because this is only going to be like 2 inches wide. I'm trying to figure out how to position this relative to the center, what you call it right here, because I think I want the hinge for this plate. Actually, you know what? The hinge can go on the outsides, right? And then that plate can rotate over top this edge right here. So I can have this actually. So project, body, that guy, okay. I think I can have this centered on this edge. I think that is acceptable. And then I can even do custom T-nuts. Nah, I'll use my regular T-nuts. I'll just put holes in. That's fine. Project, forms, faces, whatever that's called. This guy, let's put holes in for the my normal T-nuts. It's one of those things. There's always the option to I guess it's that line. There is always the option to delete that. Alright, finish sketch and then delete that. There we go. There we go. Always options to create T-nuts as part of the 3D print. However, a lot of times it doesn't seem like it's worth it. A lot of times it just seems like it's adding another point of failure, funnily enough. And you're better off just putting your metal T-nuts in here through holes. Yeah, because I can still countersink these is the other thing. I was going to say, except for the fact that the head is in the way, but I can always countersink the head anyway. So, yeah, I can't think of a good reason to not use these T-nuts most of the time. Metal T-nuts. Unless I wanted to keep this thin. If I wanted to keep this thin, then I couldn't countersink them, but in this situation, I'm comfortable making this thicker because we're going to be putting weight on it. The other thing is, you see how, this is 20 millimeters, that's what you call it. I'm thinking actually that I want to, do a metal plastic bracket holding them these two together, because the distance is so small. So I won't be able to build a full frame around with 2020 extrusion. So I think that's where I'm at. Let me draw these, finish these guys in. I didn't actually finish these guys. So we need the bolt head, because we're going to countersink it below the sandpaper. And actually, we probably also need to do a cover on them. Yeah, I guess that's actually a reason why I wouldn't necessarily want, because, see, I don't believe it. I don't believe that. Well, actually, there's the other thing. All right, let me get my size really quick on these T-nuts. The other thing is that I haven't positioned these horizontally yet, and the fact of the matter is that they can just go outside of the paper, which means that they don't even necessarily need to be countersunk, so long as I don't run into them accidentally. I'll countersink them anyway, but they're not going to go. They don't necessarily need to go underneath the paper, and therefore it's kind of a moot issue. So that was not equal to the correct object. So for example, these can go, so if I make my paper, I said last night my paper was 4.5 by 5, right? So the 4.5, it really depends how wide I cut these strips, because the 4.5 is closer to the 2 inches. So if I cut them at 2 inches, then that would be that. However, again, I'm not gonna probably reach the whole length of this paper. I mean, it's highly unlikely that I'm going to be able to use the whole length of the paper anyway. Point being, so I should just cut it at 1-inch increments, my paper. In which case, none of that really matters, right? In which case, this edge could be 4 or 5 inches going on this right here, which I said was 5.5, right? So this countersink, my point being, this countersink, if we just use the 4-inch side, 4.5-inch side, then we have plenty of space to put this in here. And then we'll check what our size actually is. So that's where they're going to be countersunk. And then this is my, in theory, piece of paper right here. And if this is just barely next to these guys, again, the actually no, that's not even the correct what you call it. That was only to get me away from the edge. This can go all the way up to not there. This can go all the way up to here, rather. There we go. And then this distance is, yeah, I know. 119 calculator. 119.7 divided by 25.4 is 4 and nearly 3/4 inches. And again, paper being 4.5 wide, if I recall correctly, that I was looking to pick up. So we have the space. Okay, cool. Cool. Again, this 2 inches might be overkill. We'll figure that one out later. Extrude. Two millimeters. Extrude. That from object. That. And how thick are these 4mm bolts? Let's see. 4. They're 4 millimeters. So we have a rather thick plate at this point, which is one of the reasons why I might want to do the custom T-nuts instead, because all of a sudden our plate is now 6 millimeters thick. Whether or not that's a problem is up for debate. Furthermore, again, the only reason we're countersinking these is just because that way the part, if we do go off the sandpaper, which we may or may not do, doesn't run into bolts. So that is the only reason. And we can decide not to, point being is that we can decide not to do that. And normally I end up drilling these holes out anyway, so I'm not going to bother with that. So I'm just going to put the 0.05 in here for clearance on the bolt head, and we'll call that a day. Next up, we'll go back and redo this. It was a body before, which I didn't like. Plus, I'm going to want this guy to be the same length anyway. So, this is easier to begin with. Turn the middle frame off, move these guys over. Shift them over to get him out of the way, and then we'll align him with the why are you here? Shouldn't you be below? Oh, whoopsies. Object, there we go, much better. Alright, so anyway, as I was saying, now we'll align this with the backside there. Okie dokies. And then again, I think I'm going to put these plastic joints in here. Construction plane, capture off the side here. Okay. And sketch, please. Sketch blocks. There we go. That and that. And one of these things, so we actually have options here on how we want to do this. Two options that stick out to me is tapping these ends, right, and then bolting it in, or the slightly less rigid, but again, the question is always how rigid do we really need it to be, is, again, plastic T-nuts like I was talking before. So grab any number of these edges and then, you know, slip it into the ends. Again, it's a matter of how rigid I really want it to be. Also, one other thing I'll note is I'm not going to put extra bolt holes in the back here to hold this in. Actually, I just said that, and that would be a lot easier than making these, Yep. Doing that would be a lot easier than making these end plates to hold it together. The only difficulty comes in getting these two lined up, which is really not that big of a deal. So I think we're going to go with simple is better. Okay. Capture position, put a mid-plane between these two guys, and then just mirror the holes over. Yeah, I mean, simple wins, right? We're already on the simple version of this, so one of these things. That, and that. Actually, no, this is not as simple. Control Z. We actually want to turn this into a 6mm, and then we want to change this up completely. Do that. From objects, distance is -4, and this is now a cut. Okay, and then we also have to add one more for the hole. And the reason we got to do this, just in case it is not obvious, is because we're going to mirror features. One of those things, if I was more comfortable with using the mirror face option, I could actually mirror these faces instead. That's completely reasonable. However, I am not, so it is not a practical option for me because I do not trust it. Create mirror. So for example, faces, click these guys, click this, and hit OK. That is an option. For whatever reason, I don't really like it. I feel kind of silly now saying that out loud, but one of these things, I guess what I don't like about it, just to be able to properly explain my feelings here. What I don't like about it is that it's not timeline options is my biggest problem. Timeline objects, rather. Timeline objects I trust. I trust having a timeline. So that is why I much prefer this over the faces method. But it's one of those things. There are certain things that I maybe should just be less scared of. Sanding plate mid-plane. Not technically accurate, but technically accurate. Sanding plate support frame. Okay. And now we do the back side. All right. So I'm thinking. Actually do this 5.5 right now. 5.5 inches. Okay, just so that looks all even right there. And then come in here And it's one of those things, this takes extra steps, but it makes me a bit more comfortable. So let's say my hinge for this extrusion. So the extrusion is, well, unless we wanted to go on the side. Yeah, so how do we want to design this hinge? We have two options. One is, actually I take it back, we don't really have two options, do we? It should probably be underneath the extrusion, so it's out of the way. Nah, it could go on the side. It just can't go on the front face, is the only thing. So, one of those things. We're going to have an extrusion for the side of the frame going up on an angle right here. I'm going to extrude this out right here. Let me turn this sketch off really quick. So I'm going to extrude this out some amount. Let's say 25 for right now. And I'm going to put a hinge right there. Okay? The hinge is going to have to connect to the piece that, whoops, side, that is going like this. And honestly, Fusion just did this line right here because it's terrible like that, but it's good representation. So pretend this is the hinge right here. So this hinge is going to have to connect to this 2020 extrusion right here in some manner. I don't think it can really go onto this front face that we're looking at right here on that guy that's going that direction. So it's going to have to go either on the side or on the bottom because it can't go on the top. The question is how does it attach and how does the hinge itself look? So for example, we could make a U-shaped hinge. So I'll draw this over here. Pretend this is the front of my extrusion. Okay, just looking at it heads on. We could make a hinge like this that then this extrusion, you know, is basically hinged along this line right here and pivots along this line. That is an option. The other option that I'm thinking of is, here is my extrusion. Pretend that's a square. And then having the hinge right here and attaching to the, whoops, was looking for square. Attaching like this to the extrusion and then to our base extrusion down here and having it hinge on the plastic right here. I'm actually more of a fan of this idea right here because we could in theory drill a hole through the extrusion and then put a bolt. That way the extrusion's weight in theory is on the bolt instead of on plastic, and then the plastic is supporting the bolt, but that's supporting straight down compression on it. So that might be a bit better. I might like that a bit better. So let's see. In that case, hold down the Control Z button. I guess I design it from here, and in which case this right here, again, that was 25 for example, but it's actually going to be 20 plus, let's say, a millimeter on each side for breathing room, plus I kind of wanted to be kind of sturdy, so like 6 millimeters on each side of plastic, plus actually no, I was going to say plus the bolt and nut, the space for that to be countersunk in, but the fact of the matter is that if it's countersunk, then the forces that it's pressing down on the plastic are exactly in line with the bolt itself, so it doesn't change anything. In theory, I don't think it should. So, actually I take that back. So instead of the whole length of the bolt going through 6 millimeters of plastic, if it's countersunk, then the head and the hex are the pieces that are pushing down on the plastic, and those are only just so thick. So we actually are better off not countersinking them in that case. In which case we do want to compensate for them. I don't know at this point. I mean, it might be M5s. If I assume that the M5s are like, yeah, let's just call it 5mm on each side, so that's 10. So that's 10 plus 2 is 12, plus 20 is 32, plus 12 of plastic is 46, 44, 44. 32 plus 12 is 44, yeah. So we're actually going 44, which is kind of a bit. I mean, it's nearly 2 extra inches of extrusion, but at the end of the day, probably worth it. So we're probably fine. Probably. Okay. Let's see. Now we want a new component. And this is work plate. I guess the hinges. Maybe I should do the hinges in the middle frame portion. That I don't know. That'd be unreasonable. Yeah, I think that's probably reasonable. All right. So the question is, I guess I design them like this. Project this guy. Okay. And question of how I do the middle part. One of those things, there's 1.5 million ways to skin a cat, as I always say. Not necessarily a wrong or right way of how you put this sketch together, I don't believe, so long as everything is lining up correctly. Equals 6mm. Project that edge. Get this. We said 5mm for the bolt head plus 1mm. No, I actually didn't include any millimeter space on it, did I? Although this can overhang. I only needed to count the one side. Yeah, I only needed to count the one side. So I actually counted too much. So let's call this 5. And the fact of the matter is that it probably can get closer just because if I use a button head on this side and put the nut on the other side. So we may have over exaggerated how long this needs to be. And now the middle part is 20mm for our, actually no, 22mm, because again I was putting in millimeter space in there. And this guy right here is equal to that because I'm doing 6mm. And then I guess what I should leave, let's get a 20 by 20 here, and then I'll figure out what that is and round it up. I guess I just draw this line in here and measure it. So that is 20, so we'll leave 30mm worth of space for it to pivot. That's actually probably overkill. Actually, no, I did that wrong because it depends. This swing up and down depends on how close to the edge of the extrusion I get. That's the only thing that matters for that one. So we can figure that out based on whatever I actually want to do here. So let's call this 25 and be happy with it. All right. So that is that. And we will go symmetric 20, I guess. Symmetric, whole length 20. Just cover the whole entire, try to do 20. 20, thank you. Just cover the whole entire extrusion. New component. hinge. And the funny thing is that this length right here, we're not even off by much, evidently, it looks like. Which makes sense, because the only thing we didn't measure here is the bolt head. So we could actually just come back here, this guy, and subtract off the 5mm to get us down to 39. And in theory, that should be lined up now. And it is. Cool. So the nut, I said bolt head, but the nut, because again, I'm guessing I'm going to put the smaller thing, which is the button head, on this side. So if the button head's going on that side, then over on this side would be the nut, which I'll probably end up using a lock nut just to make sure it doesn't come loose. So yeah, we'll come in here and middle frame hinge. There we go. Go ahead and draw the, I shouldn't. Again, I try not to work directly on the objects because Fusion gets really silly with how it ends up projecting stuff later on. So that's why I try to use the planes instead. And I actually want to project that guy because that's what I'm more interested in. That is not look at. I'm on this plane, so I should be looking. You are funny, Fusion. You are funny. Also, we are not facing the correct direction, I just realized. So let's see. I guess I probably want to put this towards the top. Makes sense to me. The question is where towards the top? Five millimeters, and because it can be any distance really, so long as it's not too low that it can't pivot. Because it doesn't necessarily matter if the extrusion, even when it's laying down like this, laying parallel with this edge, even if it's laying down parallel to this edge, it doesn't necessarily matter if it's sticking up above here. So I guess 10 millimeters. No. Because if I am going to drill through the extrusion, if that's my idea, is to drill through the extrusion in order to attach it, which is the easiest way to do it. If that is my idea, then it's gotta be the middle of the extrusion has to be down low enough. So yeah, it's whatever this is, right? It ends up being whatever this is. So let's do that divided by 2 plus 3 and call it a day. So that gives me my 3 millimeters from this top edge to that I normally leave. The fact of the matter is that all the weight is going down right, so it's not going to be blowing out this side. It's not going to be blowing out the top. So distance all flipperoonie and okay. And then I am also going to, for the looks, do this. Eight is fine with me. Make it more hinge looking. Create mirror, or actually I guess up here, create mirror. Mirror por favor. Components. Hinge. Okay. Okay. And rigid group. This guy. And I did just hit the include children, so that may or may not come back to bite me later on. Not necessarily guaranteed to bite me, but we'll see what happens. For the, let's see, for the work plane, I can just design it. It's one of those things, it's going to be on hinge, right? So I can design it from this side here, or I guess from this side, just because this is where I've had all the other ones. One of the things, because I'm working with extrusion, I actually probably shouldn't start out with a sketch. I should probably create boundary fill this guy, my base unit. Select them and new component. Actually, Control Z. Let's actually make a frame component in here, and then inside of that create that guy. Whoops, not that guy. Not that guy. That guy. That guy. New component. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and turn everything else off. There we go. Hop in here. This is going to be right frame. Let us. I guess it doesn't necessarily matter whether or not I use anything in particular. Body. How wide are you right now? 10 millimeters. If I put a 5 millimeter, then I have 5 millimeter of meat out the front. No, I have 10 minus 5 divided by 2. 2.5 out the front. It's metal. It's metal. I trust plastic at 3, so may as well trust metal at 2.5. The other option here is just to go back to my normal, grab my center line right here. I gotta actually put that line in there, then come in here, and then go from here to here, right, however far back I want it. So let's say 5, or not 5. 5 would be center, but if I need to move back some away from this edge, so we'll call it 6, and then 5 millimeters right here. And then do this, and extrude that out. And I know that was just an example, but since I got all the way there, I decided to just run with it. And this is a cut. Thank y'all. Hopefully I didn't cut anything important. It looks like I cut something important. Whoopsies. Symmetric. All. Cut. Do not cut the other things, please. Right frame only. Okie dokies. And now from here, we can modify, align, attempt to align. Okay, let's move some other stuff out of my way. Move that, move that, move that. There we go. This is what I was looking for. I wonder, can I get the... Nope, I can't get there. Yeah, this is the best I'm going to get. So it doesn't necessarily matter here, but I'm going to click that, and then hinge. Whoops. That guy. We'll get him to position here, and then I'll extrude off of that. And one of these things, I would like to avoid clicking any of these holes, any of these dots. I'd prefer just to do it off the wall. But it doesn't really look like I'm going to be able to. Yeah. I guess it doesn't necessarily matter. I didn't want to align it with the hole, was why I was doing that. But I'm going to have to take extra steps to align it like this anyway. So, one of those things. I was probably just fiddling around for no reason. Component, that guy, 1. Okay. And now we can capture position. And we can go ahead and make our frame. So, distance. This is our minimum. Distance to object. There we go. That's our minimum. And then the question is, let's see. So I'm going to want a bottom part of the frame, which is going to be actually the bottom part of the frame is going to be yeah, no. Yeah, no. It doesn't actually have to be the bottom, is what I'm getting at, which is what I'm trying to figure out. So I may as well just leave myself an extra 5 millimeters here. Okay. So I'm going to do that, and that did not do what I wanted it to do. So I'm going to leave myself an extra 5 millimeters before I do the crossbar. Join is correct. Okay, good. I'm going to put this plane right here to mark this as where my crossbar is going. Crossbar plane. Okay. That way I have that for the future. And then I'm going to finish extruding this out the rest of the way, which again is a matter of, I've been going like what, 100 inches or 100 millimeters? No, more than that. My workpiece holding, I actually don't really need more than 100, because it's one of those things, you're just going to clamp it on there, right? You're just using this as a place to clamp it. So if you have 100 millimeters worth of space to clamp on, probably good enough. Yeah, probably good enough. So I'll do 120, just so I can have space for the other 2020 extrusion. Okay. And now mirror component, center frame. Okay. Change the name on that to left frame. I'll leave the mirror in there just to remember. And then we will go ahead and frame, new component, crossbar. Boundary fill. T-nuts. I wish you could click it in the, in the browser. I might be able to click the body in the browser. That may be the issue here, is that I'm just trying to click the component because I want a new component. And that is just incorrect. I am within the frame object, right? Oh no, I'm within crossbars. So actually, this would be new body, because I've already created the crossbar, We're going to go ahead and, whoops. Actually, no, I don't have to rotate it. I can align, works just fine. Align this face to that. I'm gonna flip it. And then we're gonna align it to the side, to the construction line. Or actually, I'll align it upwards first. Oh, Control Z. I grabbed the wrong object again. Alright, try that again. Doesn't necessarily matter what order we do this in, especially because, unfortunately, Fusion does not actually have timeline for alignment. Again, well, I won't go into that rant. I take it back. I apologize. There's that, and now we just need the outside wall, which is the plane that we had before. That crossbar plane, okay. There we go, and now we can extrude out, capture position. Extrude to object. I don't like how I clicked that. I really just wanted the face. And then one of these things, honestly, I'm thinking, so I have been using the corner brackets, right? Because I'm already drilling through some of these pieces, I'm thinking about just drilling through and tapping this guy and the other guy too. That's what I'm thinking. So going without corner brackets on this build. Yeah, we'll see what happens. This is one of the things I don't necessarily need to add the corner brackets to the CAD. So I guess we won't. I'll make that decision later on whether or not I really feel like drilling the extra holes and tapping. Otherwise, we will come back up to frame. And I'm just going to use the move and component and crossbar and create copy to get myself another copy of that guy, and then align it. Modify, or not modify. There we go. That is modify. That to the edge here. Bottom. And your name is going to change too, aren't you? Yep. Alright, you are just crossbars. Whichever. Capture position. Funny how I can change the name on mirrors, but not on the other things. As built joint, frame, rigid, okay, or rigid group is what I meant to click. There we go. And then we can come up here and add that joint in for the hinge. Modify align, or not modify align. What am I doing? Joint, as built joint. That guy, revolve, that guy, ookie dookies. There we go. Let's turn the sanding plate on so we can see it relative to the sanding plate. And one of these things where at this point, because of how I did this, right, you can see how actually that sounding plate, we actually may want to make that the full 5.5 inches, because if you imagine, let's say I have a long piece right here at this angle, then that's going to stick way out that way. So actually two options here. One option is to add an extrusion along the side here. So add in another extrusion right here. Have this plate not mounted to this guy, mounted to, let's see, if this goes straight up and down, which is silly, but let's say we do, then even then it doesn't hit the midpoint of here, right? It doesn't end up hitting that until we're after or past. So back to, this is our conversation we had before about any angle that is too obtuse or acute could just be a matter in 99% of cases of flipping the part around and sanding it from the back edge. Again, there are situations where you can't actually do that because of the geometry, but 99% of the time, and the reason I'm making this jig is actually for mitering edges, so that argument doesn't even apply. So, plus, the way we're planning on hinging this was by having a piece out here, legs, kickstands, basically, that set the height. So point being is that we actually don't need this plate connected to here, in which case we can have, again, as my thought pattern was going, we could have extrusions. Whoops, Control Z. Don't move, please. Please don't move. We can have extrusions going out here and then position this plate where it needs to be on these extrusions that are flanking it, and then bolt it down into position. We could do that. We will revisit that. I want to get the motion system plugged in right here, and that is even going to kick our sanding plate out even further, actually. Fact of the matter is, I was just contemplating this part right up here I was just talking about, and what I was recontemplating was whether or not, rather than having runners right here on either side that this crossbar then attaches to, actually having them and having the plate attached to them directly, which is not a bad idea. So we may do that. The only difference being is that in theory, whatever runners I have right here don't necessarily have to be here all the time. I could always grab whatever piece fits, to like steal a piece off the arcade prototype, in order to put them down. Whereas if I have runners here, I kind of want them here permanently. So that is the idea. However, due to the simplicity of having the runners pre-attached and running this way, I may end up going that direction. But like I said, on to the more important stuff, which is getting the motion system in right here. So let's see. I think it's going to be so I kind of want it lower profile. I don't want to pick this up any further off the bed than I already am, because again, the further we put this up, the less we can use right in front of it, the less it reaches. So actually, okay, so one other thing I was contemplating, because the kickstand, right, I was thinking about putting the kickstand out on the outside. So when I originally talked about it, I talked about putting it under here and it going straight down. I was starting to change my mind and putting it on the outside of the rails, in which case the linear rails that we're going to put on the middle here, okay, I just had another idea, which is these cross beams. These cross beams could be on top of here instead, and then we could do the V-rollers if we wanted to. Nah, I'm going to skip the V-rollers this time. We've done V-rollers a lot. The reason I'm going to skip the V-rollers this time is because, well, man, alright, so I was going to say the linear rails would be more rigid, but that's not even true. That's not even true. At least not my... Alright, so if I got the steel ones, the aluminum ones that I grab sometimes, they have a bit of flex of them, but if I got the steel ones, that would probably be fine. That probably would be more rigid than the V-rollers. The other thing to mention is that well, let's see what linear bearings actually cost, because I was just going to run this on plastic, honestly, plastic on metal. 8mm linear bearing. Alright, so they are about 90 cents a piece, which is frankly not that expensive. So maybe we do grab linear bearings just to have them around, because I don't use them, but this would be useful. They would be useful to have. I don't use them often, but they would be useful to have. Yeah, I mean, at that cost, I actually don't see... that's not prohibitively expensive, you know? Yeah, I mean, they're not the other linear bearings. They're not the block linear bearings. The carriage, whatever, block bearings. Those things are expensive, but these guys, they're relatively cheap enough. I guess we'll do that. Okay, so anyway, back to how we're running this. How are we running this? I'm sorry. I just made a realization. Oh boy. Alright. Again, this was a last minute build last night. And then I went and thought up ideas for a build that we've abandoned so far this stream. So there are complications that I did not occur to me. So recall how I was saying that this could swing more than the bed, right? Sorry, where's my mouse at? The rails that we're going to put up here could swing more than the bed. That is not necessarily true. We actually don't want to move the piece off of the sandpaper, I just realized, because that's going to result in uneven sanding. That is me being a little bit of a doofus. So this plate down here, the sanding paper plate, actually is, we need to move less than the sanding paper plate. Which means that either, well, not even either. Okay, so this justifies moving this plate out from between here, right? That's what that does. At this point, we actually... See, I wanted a wide stroke length just because it's one of those things, it's just easier to take long strokes on the sandpaper than short strokes. But things may change. Inches. I mean, this is relatively small to begin with. At 7-ish, well, 6 inches, 6.5 on the outside. It's going to end up being 7.5 by the time we get to the outside. That is still quite a small setup. I don't actually want to shrink this down anymore, which means that these plates, we're actually going to have to, again, redesign these plates. And right now, this frame, these hinges, are based on this plate, as you may recall, which means that everything is about to get real messy because I'm gonna have to change that, and I would like to change that now rather than later. Let's see. So this is, okay. All right, here's the, I was gonna, yeah, all right. No, we're not gonna do that. I take it back. I was going to quit on you guys. I was going to say, this is going to take me, another hour now. It's not going to take me another hour. We're not going to whine. We're going to get this done. Modify align. That is not align. Modify align. This guy, where's my middle frame at? Oh, this is my middle frame. Let's try this again. Align this guy to the middle frame. No, that's still not correct. What the heck am I doing? There we go. Should have quit while I was ahead. Now I'm looking silly. That, and not that. And I want this perpendicular to this now. Thank you. And flip him over. Okay. And now we will move him. Let's see. If our plate is 2, let's see. Our plate we were doing. Well, that's the thing, right? The thing is that the plate I actually want to be bigger than the inside of the frame. Which means that we actually want to do the hinges first. Alright, so the hinges have to come first. We'll put these legs that I'm putting right here, that I'm lining right here, we'll align these with the hinges. That way the plate, when we do the plate, will be in line, the edges of the plate will be in line with the hinges, and therefore the sandpaper that I put down on the plate, which technically does not cover everything, at least the sheets I was looking at, so I might have to try to find sheets that are longer. I might have to find like the 8-inch sheets. I believe I saw like 8 or 12-inch sheets or something like that. So I might have to get those ones instead to get myself a larger sanding area. Point being is that can then go, the plate then can go in line with the hinges, and everything else is based off the hinges. Okay. Let us hop all the way up top then in that case, because we need to actually move all this stuff down. So where are my hinges at? The red are my hinges? Red are not my hinges. Light blue is my hinges. Okay, so all this stuff actually needs to go after the hinges. The hinges need to, instead of being off of that, and actually I will delete that. Hopefully Fusion does not pick that up again, but at this point this needs to be to that edge instead. And now that that's to that edge, we can decouple the rest of this. Let's see. Red is middle frame. That is staying there. That is staying there. Green. Green is our top one. This, I'm going to delete this for right now. I'm going to delete both of these for right now because we don't want them. We actually would have deleted them anyway. So I will grab all this stuff. Wait till after we... Actually, you know what? I'm just going to move it to the end. I'm going to move it all the way down to the end. And nothing should break. Alright, nothing broke. Because these dimensions are all the same. So everything, because we haven't changed, they weren't coupled to anything else. So now we can hop down here, finish this off, and then add the base afterwards. Okay, cool. Nothing broke. I am happy. That did not take half an hour like I thought it possibly would happen, so we're good. We're cool. We're chilling. Okay. Now, for these linear rails, I had a brief thought that I did not bring up, which is eliminating this bottom extrusion and actually running the linear rails in here, which is an idea. It is an idea because, again, the workpiece cannot go outside the sandpaper as we have just discussed, which is why we made those changes. Otherwise, we get uneven sanding, and therefore, the rails being on the inside of this frame right here, which again is the outermost side of the, again, we can overlap this a little bit with the plate that's holding the workpiece. So it would be fine to put the rails on the inside here. The couple questions being, I left myself a millimeter of space inside here just so that I had less friction. I might want to change my mind on that one. I might want to actually have this tight to it now that we'd only have the back support here. That is one consideration. Otherwise, I think... Yeah, I think I'm more or less happy with the idea of eliminating this one extrusion right here and then just putting my two linear rails in here. I think that's fine. Well, I'm thinking about it because I'm just noticing how frankly dull this is. Black coating oxide. Maybe not oxide. Metal. Yeah. Black. Where's black metal? Paint metal. There it is. Yeah, that's better. Yep. There is that. And then some plastic. And yeah, let's stick with red for right now. Plastic, matte. Where's my solid? Where's my solid? There we go. There's my solid. Alright. Let's see. So if I delete, I mean, I'm not actually deleting this guy. I'm actually deleting this guy right here. Just because that is the duplicate right there. So instead we'll move this guy up, modify a line. Well, let's back before the rigid group. That would make sense. Modify a line. No, I take it back. This is the one where we put it, right? This is where we actually set up the alignment for it, so makes more sense to reuse this guy. Right here. Okay. And finish. And now we'll go ahead. And again, one of these things where it's an interesting idea whether or not I want to drill through here, or if I just want to do some mounts, some plastic mounts for the rods going through the center here. So drill and then slide the rods through, or do plastic mounts. I think I'm going to stick with the plastic mounts just because one of those things, the drilling is a lot easier to screw up. So I think I'd sooner just cut the rods the same length and then put them in here. So the next question is actual T-nuts or plastic T-nuts like we were discussing before. I think actual T-nuts just because, again, we can tighten those down. So that is what I'm thinking. Let's fix this guy while he's at it. Sure. And we'll go ahead and make those mounts now. This is the work plate. And we don't need it in a frame. We'll put this as its own component. Linear rails. Grab the... now we can... yeah. I was going to say we can do it from the middle, but it makes more sense to do this off the inside and then mirror it across. Makes more sense that way, rather than trying to extrude it from the middle, or, you know, offset it from the middle. So, really just want the center line here, please. There it is. Okay. And anything else I want? Yeah, I guess I'll get these guys as my bounds and then just center them up, rather than, so extrude them up on center to begin with, rather than align them later. Sounds reasonable to me. And then we can turn everything else off. Okay. Construction lines. That's my center line, so we'll grab... Attempt to grab... Oh, that's right. That's a hole right there. So I'm going to have to come from over here. Hopefully that was right angle. It looks like it is. It's black. It's constrained. Okie dokies. And then I'm... Take my bounds. Find a center point. I didn't actually mean to... Well, that's fine. I just want a right angle, though, is all I really want off of you. And then we will do it this way. Yeah, a little complicated. A little more complicated than it needed to be, but one of the things technically constrained and therefore technically okay. 4 millimeters right there. That's the hole for the T-nut. And then, let's see. How do we want to make this? So I guess the rod is going to be right here-ish, I guess. I guess we'll put the rod right here. And then the T-nut next to it. and then just have them connected on a piece of plastic. I guess that is the easiest way. I don't think we really need more than one T-nut. Like, I don't think we need a T-nut on both sides. Might be overkill. Let's see. So the M4 T-nut has a 7mm cap head. And then this is going to want 3mm of plastic around it, at least, a minimum 3mm. Might want to make that bigger later. But besides that, that can go tangent to that, please. Thank you. And then, yeah, I think I'm just going to tangent the rest of this outer frame. Easiest way to do it, just make it simple. We can pop this out. I don't see a reason not to leave this hole right here. Like, it just saves plastic. It's not really doing anything. So I think I will. I did 2mm walls on some other things, but I think I'm gonna make this 3mm wall here. And actually, whoops, I should have extruded this as a component because this is its own thing. New component, okay. And this is rail holder. Give me my sketch back. Boom, boom, ba-da-dum. Too many. This guy. There we go. From objects. And the cap head was 4mm deep. We are now up to 6mm holding for this rod. Did that actually join, or that did not join? I wanted you to join. Is 6mm enough for the 8mm rod? I don't really think so. I think I want it a bit thicker for the 8mm rod, so we will grab that and extrude it out some more. Object. Maybe another, we're at 6, so maybe another 6 get us up to a 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch, and that did not join again. Fusion, you've been silly tonight. Thank you, Fusion. And then for offsets for printing, well, do not drag. Dragging is bad. Offsets for printing. Oh, derp. That wall over there. I should have left plastic around the edge for the, for the bolt head. Doesn't need much though. We'll do 2mm on that. There we go. Anyway, as I was saying, thinking of leaving this tight here rather than opening it up. So I'll have to squeeze the 8mm in because, again, printer is going to print it a little bit smaller, but that is reasonable, I think. The other thing, actually, maybe I do want to... Nah, we'll do it this way. I was going to say, one of those things, just square edges are a little bit ugly a lot of times, so I'm going to round them off. I wasn't sure, though, whether I wanted to do that in Sketch, but Flay makes more sense in this situation. So, let us go ahead and come back up here and do that. Actually, no. I guess we're going all the way up to work frame, and what I'm looking for is the mid plane here, between here, and I'm going to mirror off that. It's one of those things. These are adjustable, technically speaking, if I really wanted to. It's just one of those things. They're not going to be terribly easy to adjust. Like the work plate would have to change too in order to adjust them in theory. So one of these things where not really reasonable, but to adjust them, but. And actually, it occurred to me just now as I was saying that that there is an argument that this could be one piece right here because it's only ever going to be in one position. Again, the work plate, the mounting holes for the work plate on the linear bearings here is going to determine what exactly we can, where exactly we can put it. So there's an argument, but I don't think I'm going to worry about it. One of these things, save a little bit of plastic at least. Mirror these guys across this center line now. And then we can go ahead and hop in our middle plane like we were talking about at the very beginning. Grab these guys and then very simply just extrude those out into rails. I guess two-sided. Again, doing two-sided allows me to do two object, whereas symmetric does not. So that is once more my reason for preferring one to the other. And it does look like that number is positive, so I should be the correct orientation and correct side 1, side 2. New component. And then these are rigid group, and I'm going to turn child components off because later on it's one of those things. I'm not going to model up myself. I'll find a model for linear bearings and then bring them in, and therefore I don't want rigid group with children because the linear bearings are going to be a child in here, and those are going to be obviously not constrained as a rigid group. That is the rationale there. Otherwise, now we're just onto the plate, it looks like. So come up, yeah, come to frame. Come to frame. I'll make sure that I'm over top of this. So this is top of frame right here. Where did you go? Oh, there you are. Por favor. Top of frame. There we go. And now we can come back up to work plate and do the plate. Again, it might make more sense. Actually, yeah. It would make more sense to get the model for the linear bearings and then position the work plate after I have the linear bearings in here. For that reason, I actually will stop right there and not do that. Not do the work plate right now. So let's go ahead and get the hinges in. So one thing I was thinking about the hinges, and the reason I was talking earlier, not the hinges, I'm sorry, the kickstand. The kickstand. So the trade-off on the kickstand, if we do the kickstand behind the frame, underneath the frame, then obviously it's going to support us pushing down on the frame and stop us from pushing down on the frame. The advantage we get from putting the kickstand on the side is actually range of motion. So if we put the kickstand on the side, we can actually swing it out this way, let's say, if we need to change how we're orienting towards the angle, which is a benefit. Whether or not, again, there's a lot of things that are not feasible benefits. They're not benefits that actually do us any good, as previously discussed. So, maybe a bit silly, but this is work plate mid plane. Let's see. I guess the more important question is, what am I making this kickstand out of? It's one of those things for these projects, I'm trying to keep them to objects that anybody can get a hold of. 2020 extrusion, a kickstand on a 2020 extrusion is not really reasonable. the 8mm rods, because you're already buying one, is feasible. And we said this is 7 inches on the inside, right? So, oh no, 6 inches. 163. The 8mm rods you're getting are probably going to end up being, or I'm saying you, but you know, if you wanted to build a project, you probably end up with scrap off of a 200mm rod. So that's like 40mm worth of scrap. That's not enough for a kickstand, unfortunately. I don't think. Yeah, no, that's less than 2 inches. That's not enough. So that is out. So we'd have to get more. The obvious third option is print it. I am slightly hesitant to print it, just because I'm thinking about back to we're trying to support this. So if the point is to support it, then we might end up flexing a bit, unfortunately, with plastic, which I'm trying to avoid. I would like it to be more rigid if we're going to make this a point of supporting this back plate. So for that reason, it's difficult. Frankly, frankly, if I was just doing this for me, I would grab a piece of scrap out of my scrap pile at work and just plasma out a shape. Just, one of those things, just a bar, basically. A popsicle stick looking thing out of my scrap and call it a day. Call that rigid enough. One of those things, 3/16, probably alright. If it's not alright, if I decide it's not alright, grab a 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch should definitely be alright. So that's what I would do if I was just doing this for me. However, I'm trying to avoid stuff like that. So gotta make a decision. I guess I don't gotta make a decision. It's one of those things. We've been going for nearly 2.25 hours, and I didn't wimp out and actually got the timeline fixed. So might be reasonable to just call it a day at this point and come back and again let the juices percolate on how exactly to do the kickstand here. And see if I don't come up with a better idea, a more reasonable idea. Yeah, alright. I am up for that. So, this has been an interesting stream because, again, let's save it really quick. We started out over here. I was all ready to go with this. And then, obviously, we kind of just completely abandoned it. So, yeah, did not turn out the way I anticipated. I, again, was thinking, okay, yeah, I got this interesting idea here. We're going to run with it. We did not run with it. We actually ran away from it. So, and furthermore, the design we came up with is a good bit different. So, a very interesting evening of design here. Thank you for hanging out with me if you have. If you're watching this on VOD, thank you for watching it. I appreciate it. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Actually, I just said that offhandedly, but that's my outro, so pretend I didn't say that just yet. Because back to tomorrow is Thursday. Thursday, my replacement drill bit should be coming in so I can finish the special project. So Friday, Saturday, look forward to that guy. The Stream Deck, again, I have to reprint at this point. It looks like the attachment case part, the slide attachment is what it's called. So I'll report back if I do stream tomorrow about that. Otherwise, we're kind of in limbo. So one of those things I keep on saying, I've said this for maybe 3 weeks straight now, the stream animation program needs to be refactored. I think it needs to be refactored for certain reasons, which I'll get into when we get there. I've just been putting it off because I want to make sure. It's one of those things, the programming streams, because they're so tedious, if I'm just doing it on the fly, I've decided to actually prep everything first, and I do not have that refactor completed yet. Last week I got a good portion of it done, but there is a good bit that has to be done, so one of those things. It is what it is. I haven't put the extra time into it. One of those things, obviously, I have been doing a bunch of other stuff, and not to make too many excuses, but frankly, I'm not going to beat myself up too much over it because, again, I have been reasonably productive on other things, so what can you do? Otherwise, Scaveng game. We have the Scaveng game that I should be getting back to. Only got to play it once so far on stream. Scaveng game being Tooth and Tail. It's not actually Scavens, but it reminds me of Scavens. And the as I said, I should have looked that up. Hold on, we're gonna look that up really quick. I'll look it up over here. Let's see, Lizard Folk, not Lizard Folk, Lizard Men. Warhammer, Lizard Men. What? Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I made the reference on stream and I couldn't remember for the life of me the name. Skirmishers. What are the skirmishers called? Let's see. Skinks. There we go. Skinks. Yeah. So the one unit that we just got, well, the one tribe we just got are lizard people, a lot of them. And they have one that are like exactly skinks. Maybe not exactly, because some skinks have blow darts, but if I recall correctly, some of them did carry spears. I know some of them had blow darts, but I thought they also had spears. Yeah, alright, there's some with spears. It's been a while since I played Warhammer. So anyway, yeah, Tooth and Tail, we will get back to that at some point, so look forward to it. One of those things may just end up being a weekend game, because obviously I want to get projects done. And we definitely took, instead of one step back, 2 steps forward, 2 steps back and 2 steps forward at this point. So hopefully just one more stream of this guy, and then we'll have this guy done. And then the other guy, I don't know. It's one of those things. Now that I'm this far through this guy, this far through the more rigid version, I'm wondering whether it's even worth going back and doing the other one. So I'll make a decision on that. It's one of those things. I got so many projects lined up that I kind of don't want to sidetrack, is the biggest issue. And I want to get this done and out of the way. So that is the dealio with everything. So now, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have a great and wonderful day, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're at in the world. And I will catch you next time.